Terrible tenants, bad tenants. They're going to give you the tools you need to find your desired tenants to take care of your properties. Here we go. Welcome back to REI Simplified, where we break down complex real estate situations, scenarios, and lingo for people like me and you, the beginning investor. Today we're talking about residential real estate, finding that great tenant to take care of your home. I'm joined by my wife today, Asury Johnson. I'm gonna give you a quick little backstory of how we became the power couple that we are. So about 5 years ago, we began acquiring rental properties. At that point, I did most of the work myself and made all the mistakes. When it came to finding a tenant, I was not good at finding a good tenant. I was the kind of person that just took someone's word for it and hoped for the best. And we learned the hard way that that wasn't the best policies. So fast forward a few months into the business, I realized what I was not good at. My wife came on and really took over the filtering process for tenants. So I'm gonna let you go and tell your part of this, your side of the story coming on for the first few months and how you really helped us get to where we are today. So when you took over about 5 months into the business, what are some of the immediate changes that you implemented to help us kind of streamline our rental processes and really refine finding that great tenant?
Well, one, we looked into a rental software. So we looked into a software that was specifically made to acquire tenants and to also, maintain the tenants or use as a portal, I guess you could say. We looked into that. We found one that we liked, and we started taking on applications which we weren't doing initially, and we started doing credit and background checks. We also started collecting IDs and also doing references as well.
So one of the reasons that we started doing all that is because with the credit and background check, one, we had to set a standard. We had to make a requirement. As I said before, and it was just me. I had no requirements. I had no standards. If you were interested in the home, I jumped on it, which is a very bad practice. So when we started using the software, which is called Buildium.com, that really helped us streamline our processes. We decided to go with a 600 credit score or above as our minimum requirement. With one caveat to that, we do work with a little bit lower credit scores, but we also mitigate the risk with lower credit scores by charging a double deposit. So Asury took that over. She was really great as far as setting up, checkpoints and checklist of what all we desired from the tenant. And what we found is that having those roadblocks or those obstacles for the applicant to apply, it actually deterred potential bad tenants. What we found is that if a person has something to hide, they have a terrible credit score, they don't have the income we need, they would just run away. We'd never hear from them again. But the people who were qualified or who understood that processes were important, they had no problem working with us. What did you notice within the first probably 3 months after you took over, after you implemented the changes and the type of individuals that we started getting interest from?
Well, I also started pre-screening calls. So whenever we would get people that were interested, we just asked. There was a list of questions that I would ask initially just to see if they were a good candidate, to encourage them to fill out an application. A lot of times you can weed out the bad applicants up front by asking specific questions. And that's totally customizable to maybe frequent questions that you get or frequent red flags that you notice with phone calls. But once we started doing that, we started eliminating a lot of those applicants that were just going to waste your time.
Yeah. So it comes down to really appreciating your time and really streamlining your processes. All businesses, if you watched my channel before, I'm always talking about processes and systemizing everything you do. And that is no different dealing with residential rentals, whether you have one house or 500 houses. You have got to really set those standards somewhat high, because it is your property, it's not theirs, it's your risk, it is not theirs. And if they damage your property, you're the one that's still stuck with that property, that mortgage, and those repairs once that terrible bad tenant is gone. So I want to transition into what we do today and how, when we market today, what information are we putting in our listings? What type of client or applicant are we getting interest from today, as different from when I started doing everything myself?
Well, I think you had mentioned before that the marketing depends, I guess, in the area that the houses are in. So if it's a highly sought after school district or something like that, obviously we're going to put that at the top of the description, and that kind of thing. And then we also have the list of requirements that we're looking for in the description as well too of our listings.
Yep.
To weed out people that are not going to be qualified.
So what happened early on, when I write the listing description, I wouldn't put all the information in there. I put what I thought was important. However, we got these commonly frequently asked questions. So now, as a bare minimum, I know what information to put into those listings, in the listing details. One good reason that I'm a big fan of putting detailed information in your listing is because when a phone call comes in and a person is asking the information that's in the listing and they're not referencing the listing, they show me they have not read the listing. And if a person, an applicant, can't read the 5 sentences of your listing description, they sure will not read the 15 pages of your rental agreement, and there's going to be problems. So for me, that's one way I like to filter through a truly interested applicant, or someone that's just pressing buttons and looking for anybody to say yes. In my opinion, the most important part of the filtering process is the credit and background check. We've made it a priority to always do a credit background check before we ever leave our house, to ensure that each applicant meets our requirements, whether it be the income, the criminal history, whatever it is. We look at the entire picture. And I'm going to let Asury talk to you about how she filters through all the information.
Well, the first thing that's going to pop up is the software that we use actually tells us if we should accept, consider, or deny. So the first thing that we're going to look at is the credit score. If the credit score is not so great or is below 600, then we're going to look and see at their delinquencies, to see their payment history. If it's a lot of times, there are delinquencies that can be there for years before they actually drop off your credit score. So if we see that it's maybe dating back 5 years ago, then we'll take that into consideration and disregard it. But if it's anything, as frequent as just a few months ago, then obviously that's not going to work.
And I would say probably about 1 out of every 10 or 15 will see a bankruptcy come up. What is your policy on dealing with current or past or bankruptcies, whether it be any chapter 13, whatever's going on?
So our policy with bankruptcies is if a bankruptcy case was closed 2 years prior to them applying, then we will go ahead and accept them. Anything under 2 years, we just don't.
So that, to me, is why the credit background check is so important. If I can give you any piece of information or advice, is to read the black and white. Don't get caught up in emotions and trying to help someone and they have a sob story, a backstory, because everybody does. Read the black and white, take it for what it is, and move forward with your filtering process. So after we got the credit and background check, we've talked to them on the phone, we've asked a few of those super important questions. Now the burden of proof is on them to show us, their income, their previous rental history, so on and so forth. So when you're putting a packet together, what are the pieces of information or documentation you're looking for to complete the packet for that potential applicant?
So we definitely want proof of income. Our requirement is that they must make at least 3 times the rent amount. So if the rent is $1,000, they must have a combined income of $3,000. So we require 2 months worth of income, and obviously they have to, whether that's with pay stubs, tax records, or a letter from their job.
And we include child support, any kind of government assistance, any kind of income whatsoever.
Disability,
anything.
Any sort of certified proof of income.
Yep. So we're also looking for, we get proof of ID, because, I want to make sure that the person that's on the application with that social security number matches the ID that you've sent in. So we do a really good job. Asury has done a great job as far as again, systemizing what we're looking for and making it, very regimented from every applicant. No matter if we have 2 applicants or 15 applicants for a said property, they get the same process, the same filtering, the same scrub of each packet. We want to make sure that we have the best applicant for the property. I will tell you one thing that we learned is don't always take the first person that signs up, even if the first person is qualified, because what you're looking for is not just a qualified applicant, the most qualified. You're looking for the person that is going to be the best and most likely to pay you on time and take care of your house and stay for maybe 2, 3, 4 years. There is security in having a long-term relationship with a great tenant. So, sir, it's been 5 years. You've managed over 100 families coming through our rental properties. What, if you can go back and start on day one, what is the biggest lesson that you wish you had known on day one that you can pass to the viewers?
Is to learn to separate your emotions from logic. Think about what's logical. Don't get caught up with the sob stories, because once people find out, especially if you're a private landlord, they will come at you with all sorts of stories and why they should be the exception. So just stick to your guns and remember what your policies are and stick with them and enforce them.
I'm gonna leave you guys with 2 lessons I've learned. And that is, as I said before, people are who they are. They are who they appear to be. People don't change because they're given the opportunity to get a new house. Their old colors will shine through. So read black and white, set your standards, and that's it. Don't ever get desperate for a tenant because your house is sit vacant for 2 or 3 weeks. I would much rather have no tenant than a bad tenant. I know that sounds weird. I'd rather have no tenant and pay $1,200 for a month or 2 in mortgage than have a terrible tenant squat for 3 months and do another $6,000 of damage.
Yeah.
So, and the second piece of information I'm gonna give you guys as a bonus is never ever do business with friends or family. If you have friends and family that want to rent from you, I treat them as another applicant. If my mother wanted to rent from me, she'd do the same credit and background check. I need proof of ID. Nothing changes. So that's it, guys. My name is Adam Johnson. My wife is Asury Johnson. This is REI Simplified. If you found any value in this, please like, subscribe, share with a buddy. Why not? It's free. All of our contact information is in the description below. We look forward to talking to you guys with our next video. Love you guys. We're out.